Hey guys, thanks for stopping by and checking out this episode of the We Are Triangle podcast. My name is Larry Milburn. I'm the producer of the show. I'm also the resident yoga teacher here. I teach 2 classes of yoga a week, Mondays and Wednesdays. And we were fortunate enough to be featured on the Guys Talkin' Yoga podcast, who got wind of the fact that we taught yoga here. I don't know if many of you know, but we do offer a pretty robust wellness program. We have lots of things throughout each month, lunch and learns, things where you can learn about nutrition, financial stability, mental health. We also offer yoga and training sessions throughout the week. So we really try to take care of our associates here, and people seem to love all of the programs. So Derek Vanderwarker, the host of the Guys Talkin' Yoga podcast, heard about us, wanted to come down, see what we were doing here, and he featured myself, Dax Strohmeyer, our president, as well as our CFO, Jeff Simon, who's been coming to all the classes since we started, to get their take on why yoga in the workplace or in the corporate environment is a good thing, how the classes have been going, and how we can help spread the word by getting this out there to more people. So hope you like the episode. Here we go.
Well, it's great to be here at Upper Saddle River, New Jersey, at Triangle Manufacturing. This is the first time I've ever done an in-person interview for the podcast, so it's great to be doing this. It's also the first time I've got a friend here helping host, Larry Milburn.
What's up?
Good to see you, Larry.
Good to see you.
And I also have two of the leadership here at Triangle Manufacturing, Dax Strohmeyer and Jeff Simon. So let's just get started. Where are we, Dax? What is Triangle Manufacturing?
So Triangle Manufacturing is a CNC machine shop, basically, at our core. We're a contract manufacturer, mostly focused on the med device business. So we support companies that make arthroscopic surgery tools, joint implants, ENT, spine, small joint, just about everything you could think of in med device.
Awesome. So, and there's about 200, 300 employees here?
Yeah, about 250.
Okay.
Yep.
And Jeff, you're the CFO, so you're the numbers guy. You make sure everything is getting paid for and the money's coming in. Is that right?
Exactly right.
Awesome. Well, great to meet you guys. Thank you for having me here. And Larry, thanks for setting this up.
Absolutely.
So Larry, quickly, remind me again, how did you get connected into Triangle Manufacturing, where not only you do some podcast and video work for them with producing content for Triangle, but you also teach yoga classes here as well.
They're really good here to the associates. And twice a week they bring in a gentleman, Alex, who's like a trainer, and he works with them Tuesdays and Thursdays. Anyway, so Lizette and Roisin said, we have a really great idea to have yoga, to offer yoga. And we know just the guy who can teach yoga. And so I said, okay. So I started by teaching Mondays when I was here, 2 classes back to back, 2 45-minute classes back to back. And they were pretty well attended.
Like during the workday?
So starting at 2:30 to 3:15, then like a 15-minute break, and then the next class.
Yep.
And it's a mix. It's a mix of engineers and designers, and then shop floor folks come in. And it's now been a year. We're starting year 2.
Yep.
And so that's how I pretty much got started.
So Dax, obviously the CEO has to sign off on this stuff, really anything, right? And it's a little unique to have yoga classes for employees, period. I know a lot of big tech companies have these types of offerings. But for a manufacturing business where everyone's kind of on their feet, getting stuff done, working with their hands, I got to imagine it's tough, in the business, finding breaks and times for people to do this sort of thing. Where did you get the feeling that yoga would be great for your community and culture here at Triangle?
Well, to start out, just kind of backing up a little bit, my own experience with yoga and starting my practice was about 10 years ago. I joined a gym with my wife, and she started me pulling on me on Saturday mornings and said, "Hey, why don't you come with me?" And I pretty much fell in love with it right away. It was hot yoga, so I remember the first time walking out thinking, I feel like I just jumped in a pool and I had my clothes on. But that sweat and just getting that flexibility and the core stability, everything about it I thought was really great, and it was something that I wish that I would have had earlier in life.
Yep.
So when Larry and Lizette and Roisin came to me with the idea of, hey, this could be a really great thing for the Triangle folks, and one of the core things that we focus on is continuing to constantly improve the employee experience at Triangle and continue to offer great things and also try to focus on wellness.
Yep.
It just seemed like a very natural fit. Larry and I had been working together for years, and I knew how passionate he was about all the things that we had done together. So I felt like this is another great way for us to collaborate. Yeah. So that was it. It was really it was an easy decision to make.
Yeah, yeah. And so it's been going on for over a year, is that right?
Yes.
What have you noticed about the way yoga has impacted individuals as well as the company culture here? Obviously, everyone coming out of COVID, it's sort of a new world across the board for work-life experiences, dealing with the stress of being somewhat in the office and somewhat remote, connecting with colleagues. What have you seen?
I think the energy around the folks that are there on a regular basis, the camaraderie, there's an energy in the room that I feel has spilled over to the everyday office life. A lot of people are in the room together that don't necessarily have a chance to work side by side throughout the course of a day. So getting exposure to new people. I mean, we are a 250-ish person company, so we're also work out of 4 buildings. So there's not always personal interaction with everybody every day, and I think that group that's come together and are the quote unquote regulars, they've found a bond in yoga.
Yeah. Jeff, as another leader in the company, have you noticed similar things either in your own practice here or the way that colleagues seem to be using yoga here at the company just to improve their 9 to 5?
Well, to Dax's point, I think for one, it's really added a level of camaraderie that you really don't get, sitting at a desk or sitting at a machine, and you don't really, in many respects, get to interact with the staff like you would want to. And this provides that sort of ability to do that. And it also adds to a culture of wellness. The company's very interested in the employee and how well they are in terms of being more well-rounded instead of being just focused on the job.
Yep. So, hey, Larry, from your seat, and I know you've got your own practice that you have gotten so much out of yourself on lots of levels. I know you teach up in Connecticut and you teach down here. You've mentioned this before, but you've got some guys who have spent a lot of time on their feet on these machines, on the line. What do you see and notice about perhaps physically how this stuff helps with these guys, these men and women getting through the day?
Well, it's not just them, right? It's not just the shop floor folks, because from the engineers to the designers, these guys, there's a lot of desk time, there's a lot of meeting time and whatnot, a lot of time in front of the computer. And so I notice at the beginning of class, when everybody comes in, like in most studios, right, there's a lot of chatter, there's a lot of amped up energy. And then at the end of class, they just sort of have they got that yoga look, right?
Yeah.
They just kind of float out. But the floor is a different beast altogether. I spent 2 days down there last week all day filming a bunch of B-roll for our content library. And it's loud. You don't realize how loud it is until you're down there for a while. It's big, and you're covering a lot of ground.
Yep.
There's a certain smell in the air. It's manufacturing. And so they are exposed to that all day long. And I think to come in and to be able to have the time to decompress and move in a different way. There's a lot of repetitive motion out there. So I think in a way to decompress, move their bodies in a different way. And for a lot of them, that may be all they do for the week.
Yeah.
Because they're tired or whatever, they have life and they can't work out. A lot of them do the training program I mentioned, Tuesdays and Thursdays. But for some folks, just laying on the ground for an hour, stretching and hugging their knees into their chest could be enough.
Yeah, there's actually the duality of the suffering ergonomics in the workplace. You got guys on their feet who want to be sitting down, and people who are sitting down who wouldn't mind getting on their feet.
That's right.
And I think that is something that and this is really sort of pushing out there this is a message to guys at midlife who struggle getting movement. rolling out the yoga mat, whether it's first thing in the morning before the rest of the household gets up, or before you have to get in the car, jump on the train, or like you guys have the opportunity midday, the ability to move around in your body a little bit is I think such a missed opportunity that more guys should be taking advantage of, because obviously the older we get, we're losing a little muscle over the years. We're just not moving around in the different ways that our joints and bodies need. The tension and stress starts to build up, and you got to find a way to work through that, or you got to do something to warm up before you really hurt yourself, swinging for the par 5 or whatever you're doing at the gym. And it's just so much to get out of being on the mat. Dex, I'm going to throw it back over to you. I know you played serious college football, and you were a pro. You were in the NFL for a time as well, and other professional leagues. From a purely physical standpoint, and I would imagine being a pro athlete over the years, you've really gotten to know your body. What do you notice about what yoga can do for helping you stay tuned into your body and know how you feel, and also know how your body's changing as you get older and start to think about fitness and just staying healthy?
Sure. Yeah. With football, like we talked about with the guys on the shop floor or sitting at a desk all day, whatever it is that we're doing, we have a tendency to have repetitive motion. Mm-hmm. And with yoga, it kind of puts you in different positions that you might not necessarily get into just throughout the normal course of your day. Being that in tune with your body, especially as a professional athlete, I did not do yoga while I was playing. And in retrospect, I wish that I did, because I would have been that much more in tune with my body, which was so vitally important to my career at the time. To me, when you go through a flow and you start to understand or feel things that maybe you wouldn't have otherwise, all right, maybe there's something here I need to work on. And that thing might be affecting 3 or 4 other things in your body and your movement, and everything is connected. So I think that if I had yoga at an earlier age, I think that certainly injuries would have been avoided, and I think that I would have maybe had a little bit more connectedness to my body and been able to leverage that connectedness into my performance.
Yeah, I think there's what I've noticed in my practice is the more yoga you do, you start to get more warmth and feeling in your body. I think a lot of it has to do with how your nervous system connects with those parts of your body that feel like a dead zone. Like it's like when you have one bar on your cell phone, there's like, I can't get a signal here in this hip, right? Over time, just the movement of a basic vinyasa class, I think makes that neural connection, but it also brings a lot more blood flow and fluids into those joints in those places. So and then that sort of will move through your lymphatic system, which is why when you do a lot of yoga, just like working out or any exercise, you got to drink a ton of water to flush that through, so those toxins move out. But the moving around does allow you to have more warmth in your muscles, and then you can start feeling your joints. Like where are you on your foot as you're at this shop machine, or where are you on your feet as you're swinging through this golf ball, or where are you as you're about to do a back squat at the gym? You start to really notice, like, I can feel the arch of my feet in a way where it's not just I have tight feet. I really can feel where I'm going on. Larry, you were going to say something?
Well, I got 2 things now. But to pick up on that last part, as we know, it's not just the asanas or the physical practice, right? It's also the breath work and regulating your central nervous system. So, if you're going into this, we did a very slow class early on. I think you guys were there for this one, where it was more of a meditation, and I really tried to work on awareness. It was the first 10 minutes of the class. I really tried to work on physical awareness, but also your breath, and just to point out that, look, you can come and do this in anticipation of immediate. We have a lot of audits that happen here because of the medical side. So, right, if you're anticipating that, if you're anxious about something, the more you come in and breathe, the more your body automatically knows, like, oh yeah, it's time to chill out a little bit, you know? And so it's not just the physical, but it's the breath side as well that I really try to impart here too. So, and I think, to go back to the tuning back in with the physical part, and just the more you do it, as you were saying, last year for a lot of folks, they'd never done yoga before. So just getting them in there and getting used to the rhythm of things, the sound of things, the poses, anticipating things and whatnot was important. And I mean, I feel like the focus this year, you guys could probably talk to this too. I feel like the focus this year is much different now in January than it was a year ago.
Yeah.
First of all, there's more people that are coming consistently. I now offer one class each day, so the class size is a little bigger because we have a shift change at around 3:30.
Yep.
So that's what I was trying to capture by doing two classes. But now everybody's together. We had to move to a bigger room to accommodate that, and just the focus in the room and how quickly now, after a year, and this is the thing about being consistent with a practice, after a year, how quickly people drop in. Right, when I sit them down in their cross-legged position, right, like how quickly they just start settling down and start to focus is amazing.
Yeah.
And it's just the power of being consistent.
I want to throw to Jeff over here. So Jeff, prior to this program starting at Triangle, had you had any exposure to yoga?
I had very little exposure. I have three daughters. I'm a girl dad, and through the years, they had all done yoga, including my wife, and they would always encourage me to go, and I would be more going on the machines or going to the weights or even going swimming, and would not necessarily want to go, primarily because it was all women, was one aspect of it. And the other is I didn't really think I could contort my body in the ways that I kind of see them at home doing it. And so I dabbled a little bit, but more recently I encountered a health issue, and that health issue really, had me relook at life and my body and being aware of my body. And with coming here to Triangle and Larry starting up his classes, I thought, well, maybe this was another opportunity for me to kind of revisit yoga, especially with, yoga for dudes. There's someone there that really understands a guy maybe a little better in terms of what he can and he can't do, in terms of, as well as being a beginner. And to Larry's point, I've been doing it consistently since Larry started the program, and I'm really happy he's doing it twice a week now. And I've been getting not just better, but more aware of my body. Like you were saying, how, when you're standing up, you feel things you didn't necessarily feel before or you're aware of. And that was, really exciting. What I find also really cool is early in the morning when I kind of like come to work, going up the stairs, I'm a little slower. When I'm done Larry's class, I'm zipping right up these stairs without a problem.
Yeah. It's the fountain of youth, Larry's classes. That's what I hear.
and just to clarify too for listeners, like what we do here is not just yoga for dudes.
Yeah.
Right. These are mixed classes and whatnot. Obviously, I'm looking for those shop floor guys, and we have them coming in. They come right off the floor, grease on their hands.
Yep.
Big beards, right? ZZ Top rolling in. It's great. Yeah. And there's a lot of guys and gals who say, I've got a knee issue. I don't think I can do it. I got carpal tunnel in my wrist, whatever. I say, just come and lay down. Just come and lay down on the mat. Listen to the sound of my voice. Hug your knees in your chest. I'll come by and take care of you.
Yeah.
And I do. I walk around and like give whatever I have to do to get people into the zone. And it's been pretty amazing to see.
So let's hit laying down the mat. Why is just laying down on the mat a good place to start?
Well, I think finding stillness, first of all, right? For any of us in any one of our days is important. And again, just starting the practice of the practice, right? I think I said this when I was a guest on your show. There's this Buddhist saying that I thought was amazing, that the sitting is the practice, right? You don't sit down to not think, because as soon as you try not to think, it screws you all up. So just sitting down, that is the practice, just sitting, just laying down, just get used to doing this thing, listening to this tempo, being aware of your breath, because it's not just laying down. Now I'm going to instruct you on breathing. So just doing that and being aware of all the points of connection between you and the surface below you. I talk about that all the time. It was an important and powerful thing to start the body awareness.
And Dax, I got to imagine CEO of a multi-generation family. You're very much aligned with the values of this company. You're very much in with both feet on seeing the company succeed as well as the employees succeed in the community. There's probably a lot on your mind, and you're probably constantly on the go, literally and figuratively. Have you ever just laid down on the mat and taken a minute to check in?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think to Larry's point, you almost overlook the value of it because I'm just laying here. I'm not doing anything, but getting reconnected with yourself, getting grounded, breathing, just getting back to the basics and being still, being quiet with yourself, not letting the 10,000 things that are running through your mind at any given moment in time, not letting that affect you and being able to come back to center is such an important part of what I do, but it's what any of us do. I mean, I have a lot going on in my life, but everybody does, and to be able to come back to that moment and be still in that place, I think is really important.
Yeah. Dax or Jeff, either one of you have thoughts or feelings around just how much you've gotten out of your practice over the last year with Larry?
What I've gotten out of the practice with Larry, like I said, is I had a major health issue that I had to really kind of like relook at my body and how I managed my body. And what Larry taught me was, it doesn't, take much to reconnect with your body, to kind of get into that meditative state and to really, focus, on yourself, which is what I felt yoga allowed me to do, was to focus on myself and kind of push everything around me away. Whereas before I never was like that. I was running, life is busy, the stresses and the pressures and that's one of the biggest things I got out of the yoga so far. And to your point, you don't have to bend all the way down. You don't have to have the perfect stance to really feel, your body and how it's connecting, the different aspects of, like you were saying, the neurons and the blood flow. And that's something that, I've been continuing to do on the weekends, and just not so concerned about the form as I am the substance of it.
Yeah, yeah.
My experience is twofold: one, personally, and two, professionally. Starting with the personal side of things, when the pandemic hit, I never re-upped my gym membership after things opened back up. So my access to yoga was, or at least my normal access to yoga had gone away. And so did my practice for several years. So Larry coming back into the fold was an opportunity for me to get back to the mat. And I'm very appreciative of that opportunity because it was probably the thing that I missed from the gym the most, which is very surprising coming up in a professional sports and football background. You'd think that pushing the weights around was the thing that I grew up with. So the fact that I'm missing yoga seems sort of contradictory, but it really was. It was the thing that I was missing the most, and I'm very appreciative to be able to be back to it. But the professional side of things, being able to make the decision to bring yoga to Triangle and to have 20 or so people on a regular basis being a part of a new little different community at Triangle that is helping them, is improving their wellness, it is helping hopefully from a spiritual standpoint, is something that I get to take a tremendous amount of pride about, because it is something that we're providing for the employees. So it really is a special thing.
Not you know what it is, if you just read what you have on the wall right here, I mean, that just says it all.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's the people that matter most.
Absolutely.
And that's how you always looked at the company.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's something that's been obviously passed down through generations. Willie was my grandfather, and that was kind of the core statement that he founded Triangle on. And it's worked for us ever since.
And the quote is, "At the end of the day, it's the people that matter most." William Strohmeyer.
Mm-hmm.
So one last thought I wanted to close on, which is I came across a story about how when you were starting with the company, working for your dad, you were looking to make a little bit more money, and you said to your dad, like, can you bump my pay a little bit here? And your dad said, one of the privileges of being the boss's son is that you can work as much as you want here.
Yep.
And I think and of course, obviously, that gave you the opportunity to really see everything and become a super effective and well-liked leader here. But when I think about movement, I think the privilege of the fact that if you can do things with your body now, whether you're 35, 48, 57, 64, 72, whatever it is, like, you can move as much as you want. And to really take advantage of the ability to get into the nuances of your body, your breath, your awareness, how your body can learn and adapt to acute setbacks and chronic challenges. There's a lot more space and opportunity, I think, for anyone, but particularly guys who seem to be, I think, the quickest to kind of resign to the fact that they're getting old and you can't do stuff. If you can move, keep moving and learning how to move better. And I think what you guys are doing here is fantastic. I just compliment Jeff and Dax, and the leadership of this company for making this opportunity, testing it out, leaning into it, and continuing to make it something that works for the culture here. So I just want to thank you guys for doing what you do. I wish more companies did this sort of thing, and I really appreciate you guys having me here today to talk to you guys and share your story.
Yeah, great. Thanks.
Great.
Absolutely.
Thank you.